I'm sorry, I'm seriously aging. I can barely hear you. No fault of yours at all.
You have the temerity to look me in the face and say that you're aging?
I just didn't want to spoil your morning, that's all.
I was old when you were born. These are critically important years. And for many parents, they're your last 2 years of any real influence on determining the type of young people that your children will become. Grade 11 and 12 is about the finalization of education. It's not about career training. So when you structure your child's education, please structure it around their passions and the things that they like doing, the things that they're good at. It doesn't have to be career training. My son did not do IB biology. Perhaps the fact that his mum was an IB biology teacher had something to do with it. He didn't do IB biology. He's now a veterinary surgeon. Grade 11 and 12 is not career training. Pretty well every school in the world has latched onto this word, holistic. And everybody boasts of a holistic education. And a few actually deliver it. So what does the Oberoi International School mean when we say a holistic education? Well, if you look at that slide for a minute, that's one of our little girls in grade 11 last year, she's a graduate this year, on a trip to Indonesia. And if you look at that slide and think for a minute about what she's learning. She's learning about international mindedness. She's learning about love. She's learning about communication. She and that small person don't share a language, but they're still able to make each other happy. She's learning how wonderful it feels to have a small child's arms around her neck. She's learning about responsibility. That's a small person on her back. She's responsible for that person's safety. There's a lot of really critical learning going on there, and none of it's in the exam. What do we mean when we say a holistic education? We mean that. And as parents, when you look at that list and think you have just 2 more years to finalize the development of all these attributes, that must scare the living daylights out of you. Yeah, being a parent is a scary thing. I'm a parent. I still worry. My kid is 30 3/4 today. He'll be 31 in 3 months' time. My little boy. These last 2 years are perhaps more critical than most other years in the development of all these attributes. So please don't make the mistake that I've seen so many grade 11 parents make and look at this whole page of attributes and see only one. It's important, but it's just one of many. If you have a great exam score and that's all you got, you've led a really disadvantaged childhood. But you're going to want to know, and if I don't mention exam scores, you're going to go run away thinking our exam scores are terrible, which they're not. Our IBDP average was just over 35. That's an old slide. That was the original estimate, the original calculation, and then a couple of our kids had papers remarked and it's just nudged over 35. It's been 35 for 2 years in a row. I've been the head of an IB school for 23 years. The first time I saw a 35 was last year at this school. And we're a non-selective school. What that means worldwide is that the average OIS graduate is better at sitting the IB diploma exam than more than 3/4 of the world's IB diploma graduates. Okay? So they rank very highly at the noble skill of sitting exams. That critical 21st century skill of sitting still for 3 hours and remembering stuff. Very, very important. Why is their score so high? Is it, as some schools do, due to imported talent? We have limited spaces in our grade 11 this year, and are we going to go and select the toppers, as some schools do? One in particular springs to mind. A school that goes around all the Mumbai schools every year and picks the top 2 or 3 kids and stacks their grade 11 class full of potential 40 plus kids and then gets really high scores. That's how you do it. And it's quite easy, because the kids who get 40 plus, they're the really easy ones. They don't need us. Speaking of that school down the road, last year our top 3 grade 10 kids were offered positions at that school, as in every year. And last year our top 3 kids said, no, I'm staying where I am. More to the point, 3 sets of parents said, no, the education I want for you is the education you're getting now. I was pleased to hear that. I got many congratulatory emails from parents because last year we got, in their words, we got our first 45. You know, the Times of India reported that 3 schools in Mumbai got perfect 45s amongst their students. They left us out for some reason. But let's be clear, we didn't get the 45. It's not us that did it. We had a lovely young lady who was really smart, good at exams, and worked really hard. You know, 45s don't indicate a fantastic school. All that 45 tells you about this school is that if your kid is smart, good at exams, and willing to work hard, they can go as high here as they can anywhere. Now, our 45 was different, because she'd been with us 6 years. And what that meant was, she didn't just have 45, she had this as well. Getting a 45 is a wonderful thing, but if that's all you've got, you've led a very disadvantaged childhood. I've met a number of kids with perfect 45s, some of whom have had no social life whatsoever. Some have difficulty carrying on an intelligent conversation, but they've got 45, and that's all they've got. And I think that's child abuse. Okay. Oh yes, everybody wants to see big name universities. Okay, let's get this over with. We got a kid into Oxford, one into Cambridge, a couple into Ashoka, 3 into UC Berkeley, 1 into Georgia Institute, 1 into MIT. Okay, big names? Good. Let's look at the big picture now. The big picture is this. We had 88 kids graduated last year. They got 467 offers from 169 universities in 9 countries, were offered scholarships in excess of $6 million US, and they're awesome people. That's the big picture. Okay? Now, if you're going to be an OAS parent, first thing you need to do is know what we are. If, for example, you've applied for entry here and you've also applied for the school down the road, I cannot understand it. That's like wanting to buy a Bentley and wanting to buy a Ferrari. If what you really want is a Bentley, you're going to hate the Ferrari. And if you really want a Ferrari, the Bentley's going to be so slow. We do not compete, the school down the road and we're very, very different. What do we expect from parents? We expect partnership. This is really important. I know there are schools that give the following instruction to parents. We know what we're doing. Drop your kid off in the morning, pick them up in the afternoon, leave the rest to us. We're not like that. We believe that we know more about curriculum and pedagogy and college admissions and things like that than you do. But you know a lot more about your child than we ever will. And we need to bring those two knowledge bases together. You need to understand what we're doing. Communication is very vital to this partnership. And your part in it is critical. Because if you take the view of an ex-mathematics teacher at your child's year, it looks like this. 15%, that's 1-5, 15% of your child's year is spent at school. 85% of their year is spent not at school. Hopefully for 33% of that, they're fast asleep. That leaves quite a big chunk. Our chance to further the development of all these attributes in your child has got to happen in that 15%. You have access to this enormous chunk of their time. Your role is critical. The fact that you and us work together collaboratively to maximize the input, to maximize the development that occurs in the 77% of your child's year that we share. That's really important. Students in the room, what do we expect from you guys? First and foremost, we expect respect. Our whole disciplinary system is based upon respect. Respect for yourself, respect for your parents, respect for your school, respect for each other, respect for differing opinions, respect for your country, respect for your cricket team. About to beat Pakistan tomorrow. I'm Australian, I know cricket. We expect integrity. And we're serious about it. We don't have any tolerance for kids who have tutors that do their assignments, kids who cut and paste other people's work and pretend it's their own. That's not what we're about. So if that's the way you operate, you're not going to be very happy here. I can guarantee you that. We expect integrity because we think all parents want their kids to grow up to be young people of integrity. We want our graduates to be people who celebrate their honesty, their integrity. We expect you to come to school. We have a 90% rule. That's the absolute minimum. We expect 100% attendance, but we know from time to time small things come up. But at the very worst case scenario, we expect 90%. In line with many other schools in Mumbai that also have a 90% rule. The difference though is we stick to it. And you need to know that before you come. We expect you to show respect for your school by coming on time. All of our kids arrive at school on time. School starts at 7:45 and they all get here by 7:45 because at 7:46 on the dot, the gate is closed and you get sent home. Okay? You need to know that up front because if you like to sleep in and come to school when you feel like it, you'd be happier somewhere else. Our goal is not to be an exam factory, is not to be a pressure cooker that pushes and pushes and pushes and makes your last 2 years of childhood absolutely miserable. We think you're still a child, we think you still have a basic human right to be happy for these last 2 years. There's lots of serious worrying things in adulthood ahead of you. They can wait. You're still a kid. Be happy. We enable kids to grow. And in these last 2 years, there's still a lot of growing to go on. We help them discover. We help them create. We help them learn. We help them learn. Please note that it's the students that do the learning. We don't do it for them. Their tutors don't do it for them. We strongly recommend that you don't have tutors because it's only the student who can do the learning. You can't outsource it. We enable kids to try as hard as they possibly can at everything they embrace. If you come here, you will discover that we have truly awesome kids who get awesome results in a really happy place. That's really all you need to know, isn't it? Okay, thank you for listening to me. The staff down here will attest to the fact that this is probably my shortest presentation on record. I do tend to go on. And who do I hand you over to now? Tiffany. Tiffany.
Morning. I think somebody's helping me with the tech stuff up there. I don't really want to run up and down the stairs. My name is Tiffany Goulet. I'm one of the high school university counselors here. And I work really closely, especially with grades 11 and 12. We do start in grades 8 and 9, but really the majority of my work is done with grades 11 and 12. So if you choose to come to Oberoi, you'll work really closely with either myself or one of my colleagues. Do I have a clicker or control here? So yeah, like I said, my name is Tiffany Goulet. I'm one of the 3 university counselors here. This is our plan for today. Tony, are you sure? Oh, there we go. There are 3 of us in my department. We break the kids up alphabetically by first names. There's about 120 kids per grade level, so that means that each of us work with about 40 students. We meet with kids, like I said, in grades 9 and 10. We do some assessments, kind of see what the kids are interested in, what their strengths are, things that they like to do in their free time. Are they people? Are they computer people? Whatever. And then we work more and more in grades 11 and 12 with the different students. We meet with kids mostly during their study halls for about 15 minutes every cycle, so every 8 days. We're also available during lunch, after school. We meet with a lot of parents, either at 8 o'clock in the morning or 8:30, so that you can do it before you go to work, or at 3 and 3:30 with parents and students if they want to meet together. We have plenty of time to meet with students. Honestly, if I felt like we had too many kids on our roster, I would ask them to hire another counselor and they would do it. But we really do have, as mentioned, we have plenty of time to work with the kids. The biggest thing for me is that we ask that parents don't work with outside counselors. There are some decent outside counselors out there. There are some really terrible ones out there, but regardless, they do things a little bit differently than we do. This next 2 years can be kind of stressful, and you have kids kind of stuck in the middle. They're trying to make themselves happy, they're trying to make you happy, they're trying to make me happy. They've got all these people kind of pulling on them, and we find that if you work with an outside counselor, then that's one more person that's kind of pulling. Again, I'm not saying that the outside counselors don't know what they're doing. I think some of them don't. But I do think that there are some decent ones out there, but they do things slightly differently than we do in my office. So one of the things that we talk to our parents about is that if you choose to work with us, then you only work with us. That's the expectation. Our philosophy, and you probably heard this before, is best fit. So we don't really care about names of universities. We're looking for the university that kind of meets the criteria for you and your child. For each family, this is different. Sometimes it's based on money, sometimes it's based on location, sometimes it's based on weather, especially for some of my kids that really like sports. It can be based on the size of the university that they're looking for, what the major is, do they want a 3-year program or a 4-year program? We talk about this a lot, especially in grade 11. Because you all have an idea of what the university that you want to attend looks like in your head. You just need to sort of figure out what that is so that you can tell us and we can help you get there. But it's best fit, because most of you are probably going to go really far away for university, and so we want you to be somewhere that you're going to be happy, not somewhere that you're miserable. And again, we don't really care about the name of the university, we just want you happy. We use a program called CIALFO. It's an online guidance platform. This is where all of the assessments are. This is where you can do search for universities, you can look up different careers, you can work on your resume on there, and everything is kind of in one place. As you look at high schools in Mumbai, a lot of them will use a platform. This is the one that we have chosen to use. A lot of the information that happens for universities is the kids' work. We guide them through it, we help them with their essays, we help them find universities, but it really is, in the end, they're them doing the work. On the right-hand side here, you can see the things that my office helps do. Between those two columns, that's pretty much the whole program. So between the kids and us, it all gets done. Last year, we had 350 universities visit. They come either at lunchtime or after school. These are all universities that reach out to us to come visit. We don't really send invitations out. These are universities that know who Oberoi is, and they want our kids. So they come to visit us and advertise and try to find kids that are a good fit for them. So 350 is pretty impressive. One of the counselors, this is her job, is to entertain the university reps. And it's really half of what she does all day. It's really time consuming between making the appointments, making sure they don't go to JVLR, setting them up with the Wi-Fi password, and everything else. It really does take quite a lot of time, but we're pretty proud that we have this access. After school, they're open to parents, so we do have a lot of parents that come through. Sometimes professors will come and give talks. So last year we had some parents that pretty much every time there was a university professor, they would come and listen to the talks. So they kind of had like a lecture series going on. So they learned about, prosthetic hands, and then a week later they learned about law, and then the week after that they did something on astronomy. So yeah, so we have like a little lecture series going on. I honestly don't think I'm doing this. I think someone's up there pushing it every time they see me try to push it, but that's fine. I think there's also an idea that if you do the IB diploma, that you have to leave India. Like, that's kind of the idea, is that going to these international schools means that you have to leave the country for a university. And we're really working hard with the Indian universities to get them to understand IB. And every year we have an Indian fair for universities that are here in India. The one that we're having is coming up at the end of October. So far we've got about 25 universities that are coming. If you are at a school in Mumbai and you guys want an invitation to this is open to the public. So if you can just get your counselor at your high school to email me, I'll send them out an invitation so that you guys can come. We're having it one day. Deerbai's having it on another day, Hill Springs having it on another day, and Jamnabai Narsi is having it on another day. So the same universities are kind of going to travel around Mumbai over the course of 3 or 4 days. So if you're interested in that, then just let me know and I'll get in touch with your counselor. We also have a career day. Last year we had upwards of 50 parents and people from Mumbai come in and talk to our kids about their careers. Pretty much in each classroom there was a panel of about 5 professionals, either math-oriented or helping people or artsy, and so kids could go in and talk to different people who kind of were interested in the same things to see what different careers were open to them. It was a really great problem to have, but I had so many adults volunteer to do this that we sort of had to change the format, because in the past I kind of had one adult in each room, but I had so many people I kind of had to group them together. So that's the parents that we have here. It's pretty amazing. Over the summer we do internships with our kids, mostly in grades 10 and 11, and we set them up for anywhere from 2 weeks to a month over the summer, and we help them find those, set them up. We help the sponsors figure out what's best for the kids and what they could be doing over that month. And this program is growing. It's been difficult to get started in India because of the child labor laws, but now we're starting to get more and more parents volunteering to sponsor kids. One of the things that I do need parents to understand when they sign up to work with us is that we don't do the work for the kids. We teach them how to do it so that they can make their lists and apply on their own. So I do know that in some schools, they just sort of give the kids a list. You know, they say, I want to major in this, I want a school that's this size, and I want to be here, and then they put a list together for the kids. We don't do that. We spend a lot of time educating kids on the different systems and how different countries approach university, the pros and cons of going to different countries, what would be a good fit for them, and then we show them the different tools and we guide them along the way, but in the end, you know, the lists are made by the kids, the essays are written by the kids. The other thing is that the kids are in the driving seat. You know, it took me a long time to find this picture because there's not a lot of pictures on the internet of parents listening to kids. I don't know why. It was really, really difficult. There was a lot of parents talking and kids listening, but not so many like this. But I like this photo mainly because the kid's in the middle and the parents are listening. But that's really our philosophy here, is that this is the kid's experience. You know, if you wanted an engineer in your family, then you should have been an engineer. This is their kids' idea, right? This is their chance to go to university and figure out where they want to go, with guidance from parents. I'm not saying they have a, you know, free blank check or anything like that, but really these are kids' decisions to be making, and I work for them. And you do have to sort of understand that if you choose to come to Oberoi, because that really is our philosophy, is that, you know, the kids are in control of this process. We do a lot of information sessions. This is just a short list of things that are either geared toward the kids and or parents. This year we have 3 parenting sessions going on, one about sibling rivalry, one about discipline, like effective discipline, and then one on how to deal with teenagers. We might do that again next year, in case you guys want me to do that again. But we do a lot of information sessions for parents. We also have a parents' book study that meets once a month. And everybody reads a book on a different theme and we get together. The last book study that we had last month had between 30 and 40 parents who came from both campuses. So it's kind of good because it gives parents some homework and something to do that's helpful. I'm a parent of a 3-year-old, so I'm starting out on this journey, and we sort of do this because I need help. So everybody's reading books to help me get through this process. I'm very brave when we're talking about your kids. You're going to come back in 15 years and talk me down from the ledge. The biggest thing for us is that this can be really stressful, and it doesn't have to be. You know, there's a lot of companies out there that want to separate you from your money and get you all stressed. And you know, you can't possibly come up with a list of universities on your own. You couldn't possibly study for the SATs on your own. You couldn't possibly write an essay on your own. And that's all absolutely ridiculous. This is not that hard. You could do it without me. I've just been doing this for years, so I have some information to pass on to you to make it a little bit easier. But please, no matter where you end up next year, try not to let it rule the next 2 years, because it is the last 2 years that you have with your children under your roof, and it's really easy to get caught up in all of that. So really do try to enjoy it. It's a process. It'll be okay. They end up where they're supposed to be, so don't stress too much about it. So that's our philosophy here at OIS, and it's for all 3 counselors. I just sort of wanted to leave you with a slide that just sort of says, does this work? Like, so it's all kind of hippy-dippy, and the kids, you know, drive the car and whatever. So, you know, where does that take us? Last year, 69% of the applications that were submitted were accepted or got offers. So that means that 7 out of 10. That's pretty good, honestly. If you look at what other schools do, that's one of the highest. So I'm really proud about that. And just an updated, because we've had other offers come in over the summer. So now we're up to $6.38 million in scholarships. And that's merit-based scholarships, because our kids don't really qualify for need-based. So that's based on who our kids are and what they're doing, which is really cool. That's our email. If you have any questions about the program or whatever, I know over the course of the next couple months you're going to be making some big decisions. You are welcome to email us if you have any questions about it. I also have cards if you would rather have a card, but I just thought it's important for you to understand our philosophy, because if it meshes with the way that you want to approach this, then OIS might be a good fit for you. If you're looking at these slides and thinking, this lady's crazy, then this might not be the best fit for you. Thanks, that's me.
Hi, my name is Rucha. I'm the IBDP coordinator at OIS. I'm going to talk a little bit about the subjects that we offer, a little bit about Neil's already dealing with or has already spoken about our philosophy, the school philosophy and the IB philosophy. And so I'm going to touch upon the subjects. Please don't worry, they're all there in the prospectus that you will get. And we'll also share of the study guides or any other information that you need. This is just for you. So if you're the kids in the room, these are things that you could pick from. If your parents in the room, let's have the kids pick subjects that they want to study. Some of these are, I'll also go through some requirements. And so in the process, in case this is not meeting a criteria, then we could take it from there. That is the learner profile of IB, and again, it is reflective of a lot of words on there are reflected in Neil's slide that was there in the beginning as well. And if you see on the right-hand side, that is how learning happens at OIS. And if you see that both circles, the reason why I like and we like using this one is to show you that the kids learn from each other. The teacher's role is more facilitative here. The philosophy also inculcates the fact that students take charge of their own learning. They pick their own subjects, they take their choices, these are their lives, these are their careers, and I think we can help and we can support and we can be partners in the process, but it's them. Okay. Yes, okay, so what is the IB diploma? In case you have not already been bombarded with this information, then it generally requires students to complete 3 core components, the EE, CAS, and TOK. These are 3 different things. These are things, and I'll discuss them in a little more detail, just to tell you why the IB diploma is a good option for students if you're training them for university and what they offer. 6 subjects need to be studied over a period of 2 years. You need to pick 3 of them at the higher level and 3 of them at the standard level. 1 course has to come from each of the groups, so I'll discuss the groups in a minute. And the 6th one is an option. You could choose one from group 6, or you could choose another one from groups 2, 3, or 4. We'll begin with the IB core, and the IB core consists of 3 large components: extended essay, CAS, and theory of knowledge. We'll begin with CAS. CAS is creativity, action, and service. It's an opportunity for kids to move their learning outside the classroom and not just apply it to the real world, but also look at giving back to the community, giving back to not just human community, but animals and the environment and everything that they see around them. So the CAS is literally taking them outside the classroom. The extended essay is a 4,000-word essay that the students write on a topic of their choice. It's similar to a research paper that the kids would write when they apply to universities in their undergrad program, similar to a dissertation that you would write in a postgrad program. So those are much longer, larger, but and their entire philosophy is similar. This is 4,000 words, you get a guide, the person is facilitating to help you research and write something. So it lays a good foundation for kids to be able to research on their own and then present their research as a good argument in the form of an essay. Theory of knowledge is one of those interdisciplinary subjects that combines and makes kids question the world around them. It questions how they know, what they know, why do they know what they know, who controls what they know, lots of no. As you notice, it's a really interesting subject. A lot of kids love it simply because it gets them to rethink what they see around them. It gets them to look at the world differently. It helps our kids to start questioning, and that's one of the most important skills that we want them to take out of, or you would want them to take out of the 2 years of education, where they're not accepting everything at face value. Right, the first group is studies in language and literature. We offer only English as English A language and literature, and so this is one you have to pick. This would, or the texts that you study in this, range from some literary texts and also a lot of mass media and journalism and communication and things like that. And so it's a combination of both of these to help you pick something for group 1. Group 2 is language acquisition, and this is the one that we offer 3 languages at 2 levels, higher level and standard level, and then you have something at the ab initio as well. So for those people that have not studied an additional language or have studied a different additional language than the ones we have to offer, you have an option of taking ab initio, which is where you start the language at a basic course. And if you've already been exposed to the language previously, then you are required to pick one of these 3 languages at the higher or the standard level. Group 3 is individuals and societies, and we are very proud that we offer almost all the subjects that IB offers under this. We offer history, business management, economics, psychology, global politics, and ESS. The kids can pick subjects that they would like, subjects that they want to study at all of these levels, and take it from there. Again, this is one of the groups that if you're looking at picking up something in liberal arts at undergrad, then this is one of the groups that you would probably double in or come back in to take another subject on. If you're looking at taking something in literature, then group 2 would be your 6th additional subject. Business management and economics is, we don't recommend kids taking both at higher level, and so we will have you pick one at higher and one at standard. Our reason for doing that is that most universities, when you go to apply, they treat business and economics as one course. So essentially, when you go to apply, you're not adding anything to your portfolio. You're not walking out with a holistic diploma. What you're walking out with is double dipping into subjects. They don't view kids positively with HL in both business and econ. And so you could take one at HL and one at SL, but we'd like you to explore. You're at a point where you could literally pick anything from here. So pick a subject that you haven't studied and have fun with it for the next 2 years. Like, the exam scores will follow, and if they don't, at least you'll be awesome at global politics or psychology or history. Someone has to tell me when this changes. ESS is an interdisciplinary subject, and I'm going to start with that because it double dips into both group 3 and group 4, which means that it could be picked as a group 3 subject or it could be picked as a group 4 subject. It's not the same as just studying about the environment, just because that is the first word on it. It looks at systems and societies. So it starts out with the environment, but it goes beyond, and it looks at systems that you see around you, not just based on environment, as well as how society works. So sustainability and things like that are things that we tap upon with environmental systems and societies. Physics, chemistry, biology, most of you would be familiar with. This year, we've introduced our first cohort of students that are doing design technology as well as computer science. They're different in the sense that computer science looks at coding, it looks at programming, and so if this is something that is spiking your interest, then computer science would be something that you would look at. Design technology is a slightly different course wherein it taps on the idea of you designing, and it could not necessarily mean just designing a particular computer program, but it could be a product, it could be technology, it could be a software, it could be an algorithm, and you using technology to apply that course. So the course teaches you how you literally, the entire process from you thinking or brainstorming of an idea and how you would implement that idea into some sort of finalized, not necessarily tangible, but intangible product as well. For maths, I'm going to invite Miss Sandy, who is a math HL teacher, because this year, mathematics has a new subject option, and so she's just going to help give some clarity because those look the same to me.
Is it snowing yet? It's freezing. Okay, for years the IB has had 3 different maths studies, math standard and math higher, and starting next school year, all IB schools around the world will be doing different mathematics. So this isn't just an OIS peculiarity, it's a new thing with the IB. So there's no longer kind of the 3 tiers of maths. Instead, what they have is they have 2 different courses, both of them offered at the higher level and the standard level. The mathematics applications and interpretations is really for students who are much more interested in solving real world problems. Probably there's a lot more use of technology, lots of statistics, etc., etc. Mathematics, analysis and approaches. Also, you're going to have lots of contextual real world stuff, but there's going to be probably the top one, if you like, might be people who are more interested in business, liberal arts, etc. The one at the bottom would be for people heading towards studying maths or engineering. There is a lot of information coming out, and so they haven't actually even begun training this yet, so it's not like we don't know and everyone else knows. They're trickle feeding us a little bit, but definitely it's going to add a lot more choice for students, and I think the anxiety of, gosh, is study sufficient, etc. You can actually go really deeply into statistics and many other things by following that top strand. So there'll be a lot more information once it comes time for course selection, but just know now that IB Maths is finally changing, and it's quite good news.
Okay, I'm just going to talk off. The 6th one is, okay. Arts. At present we offer visual arts and theatre at Oberoi. Again, this is the 6th optional one. Essentially, students that are interested in visual arts has to do with, yes, creating a portfolio. However, it's not just all about drawing. It's a lot about graphic art, technology, installation art, and things like that. And so if that is something that you are interested in, then you don't necessarily have to have learned how to draw. You could pick the course up at the SL and learn on your way along. Theatre is also similar, and I need to clarify that you don't necessarily need to want to be an actor for you to be able to, or for you to want to pick theatre. It looks at the entire process of theatre, and so you could be interested in direction, lighting, camera work, script writing, and any one of those, and the course still caters to you. So you don't necessarily have to put up a performance. Their final assessment is not a performance. It's not just a performance, it's multiple aspects that come together for it. And so both of these courses are geared towards students that can come in with no prior knowledge and still be able to do well at the course at either the SL or the HR.
Can someone just press up there?
There. Right. Neil has spoken about our DP results, and one of the things that I wanted to talk about also with the DP result was the fact that we did have a success ratio of 97.61, and which I think is awesome for a non-selective school. The 45 points is something that we celebrate, but the fact that more than 60% of our kids got more than 34 points, which is superb, as opposed to the world average of 29. Our average points are 35, our average grade is 5.63, and our school average is higher than the world average in every single subject that we offer. And I think that is, or that should count for how good our teachers are, how well we run the curriculum, and as well as the fact that how much our kids have enjoyed that entire learning process with us. I'm going to move and hand over the mic to Miss Sandy.
It's not me. Okay, but I'll talk about it. In addition, when you come to OIS, Most of our students will walk out with 2 diplomas. One of them is the IB diploma that they get at the end of the 2 years, and they will also get an OIS diploma, and that is a major big deal that very few schools offer this school-based diploma. It's very similar, if you think about it, to the sort of diploma that you would get if you were at a US high school. So it's actually very percentage-wise, there are lots and lots and lots of Americans in American high schools who do not do the IB diploma, yet they get into university using their high school diploma. And so our students walk out with both. And so if the wheels come off with the IB, but they still meet our graduation requirements, they still have this OIS diploma, which allows them entry into all sorts of universities. Can you just press? Thank you. All right. I just want to talk to you, a little change of gear, about what it's like to be an OIS student. So let's talk about a day in the life. I'm going to do this quite quickly, and I'm going to dance around a lot because I am freezing. Next, please. So I don't know your school situation, but we run a schedule where we have 4 subjects a day, and they're long, because there's a lot of research that says that's a lot better for learning. You actually really get to go deeply into the learning. There'll be lots of activities happening during that lesson, but rather than chopping and changing 8 times through the day, we only do it 4 times. At the beginning of each day, on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, there's a homeroom session. So that's where in small groups you get to eyeball your homeroom teacher, and that's a lot more kind of pastoral care. How are you doing? Are you getting enough sleep? How's your stress levels? What can we do to help you, etc. You do 4, didn't realise it had changed, sorry. So all of our students do 8 subjects. If you're an IB student, you do the 6 that Rucha was just talking about, plus you do TOK, so that's 7, and your 8th is a study hall. And so each individual student will get their schedule, and let's say you do chemistry in block A. Wherever you see A on that slide is where you would do chemistry. So what we do is students will do 4 of their subjects on one day, 4 of their subjects on the next day. Does that make sense? But in order to share the love, you know, it's easier to learn in the morning than it is after a big lunch. So what we do is, in addition to that, you'll see that on day 1, it's A followed by B, followed by C, followed by D. And the next time those blue subjects meet, on day 3, whatever was first has moved last. And so there's some wacky scheduling that goes on here. Takes you probably a week of going, and then you're fine. And our students all make it to all of their classes on time, and they're fantastic. But what it means is that we've got you can think of it as a 2-day or an 8-day schedule, kind of depends how your brain thinks. We've got some amazing faculty. I like my air clicker. Really, there are some incredible teachers in this building that amazingly skilled, wonderfully experienced, passionate like crazy. I forget our latest stats on how many of them are IB subject examiners, and that's some of the best professional development you can do, is to do the examining from the other side. We've got some IB workshop leaders, so they're the people who the IB will send to other schools to train other IB teachers. And I think that what makes them even the best is that they're just a little bit crazy. That was, what was that day? It was a book.
National Book Day.
Yes, and that's Tony, who were you? That's Tony in the pink.
Just William.
Sorry?
Just William.
Does anyone know that? Just William? Tony doesn't, sorry, Neil and Tony are the only people in the building. Anyway, next. All right, I want to talk to you a little bit about what we do beyond academics, because it's a really rich array of opportunities. Click again. The school puts on 2 large productions each year, so there's a first semester and a second semester production. The second semester, which is this one from last year, was The Miracle Worker, and that is put on primarily by the DP students. No, they don't necessarily act. I think that student, the main, was in grade 7 as the actor, but they're the ones who put the show on. The year before that, it was a hilarious comedy called Sweet Surrender. Last year, the big musical we did was Cinderella the Pantomime. It was nuts, absolutely nuts. This year, the musical, which they're working on right now, is Mulan, and I think we end up with something like 100 students involved in these musicals, so they're quite massive. There's also TEDx that we run this year. It'll be running in about January. That's more TEDx. Next. OAS MUN, so we have a giant MUN event in 2 weeks' time, I believe, not this weekend, but the following weekend. Maybe some of you are coming as students from other schools. That would be fantastic. We run HMUN here, so the Harvard version of MUN. There's swimming. There's lots of team sports, so there's lots of things that are organised by the school that students can tap into. That girls' soccer team, you can't imagine how much silverware they ended up with by the end of their season. The grade 11s each year go to Telunas in Indonesia, and so what I've been through so far are the things, I guess, that are every year organised by the school. Then what we have is we have a lot of student projects that run. They may or may not be initiated from CAS, and then they take on a life of their own, but these are student-run, school-supported projects. So that one that was just up there called Walk a Mile in Her Shoes is where the students, it's to raise awareness of domestic violence, and so there is so much more to it than a financial check. It's definitely a lot of empowerment and knowledge. We also have an OAS film festival, and they're the people who were part of it last year. I'm trying to remember when that's running. It's coming up in a couple of weeks, isn't it? Releve is a dance show that students put on, so they will have a whole bunch of acts where the students choreograph, perform, etc. under all sorts of criteria. Relay for Life is a big event that we run overnight to raise awareness and funds for cancer research. Dreamfest, another student initiative where there's 5 or 6 short plays that students write and direct and perform and do everything for, and there's different criteria, and they are just amazing. Give you goosebumps to watch. And I can't remember, my brain is forgetting when all these dates are. Strike is this amazing student group that was started, I think this is its 3rd year, started by a group of students who really felt, why aren't there enough girls playing sport in this school? And here to that. So they have made incredible inroads at helping girls to get on the court or on the field, and helping them with their skills to overcome maybe any feelings of, oh, I can't do that, etc. Making sure that there's equal opportunities as far as using all the facilities and things like that. So Strike No Limits is what that's called. We use lots of technology in our classrooms. Assessment isn't always it's not always pen and paper. Life is not all pen and paper. So there are some wacky and wonderful assessments so that teachers can see what students can do. Our kids are so creative. They're caring. That boy on the left, this was a Teach for Fun activity where, again, we would bring in students from a school nearby that has very, very, very limited facilities, and they would be working with them for months. And that boy's mid-backflip and there's nothing underneath him but wood. I didn't know that was going to happen till he was in mid-air. But so the opportunities for our students to give back and to learn from the community around us, they're really rich and valuable. That's going back, sorry, the Teach for Fun was just, they also did some computer work, some, again, this teaching girls from this school, they would come here and teach them to play a little bit of soccer. Next. OIS students are really special. Next. So, what are we looking for? So then, Tony, if you could just, we're looking for, no, not all at once. We're looking for students who are curious, right? Do you want to find out how it works? Are you questioning? Are you willing to take a risk? Do you have a good sense of yourself? And do you have a good sense of others? Are you ethical? Are you honest? Do you have integrity? Are you interesting? Do you have a story to tell? Is there more to you than someone who sits and does nothing but their work at the desk? Are you interesting? We really will be asking you for stories when you come and interact with us. Are you confident or building your confidence? Compassionate? Respectful? Can you embrace failure and celebrate success? That's what we're looking for. You know what you're looking for. They're the sort of students that we love to work with here in OIS. I think as a school, we take what we do really seriously, but we don't take ourselves seriously, and we have a really good time doing what we do. So next steps. You're about to have questions, time for questions, but before that, these are the questions we get mostly. So, after this, and after you've had a chance to ask any questions, application forms are available starting today, from today until October 3rd. So if you want to, you can get an application form there outside. So you go out there near where the coffee is. Anyone who gets an application form will do an assessment for us. They'll be done on 2 Saturdays, so either Saturday, September 29th or Saturday, 6th of October. Interactions with shortlisted students, so based on those assessments, which are not IQ assessments at all, because we've just spent the whole time telling you that's not what we're after. Those questions really get to the heart of what makes you you. So interactions, so that's where the students will come and they will talk to either Tony, who's up there, or Rucha, and offers will be made about 1 week later after your interaction. And if you have any queries about the process, really, we're not the people to answer those questions, but the admissions team are, okay? So, next slide. Questions? Yes?
Hi, I'm hoping to join IB because I want to be an actress and a writer. These are two professions that are not really highlighted in my school. I really hope to write as much as I can and to act as much as I can in the next 2 years. Will Oberoi International be a good option for me?
We certainly, I don't know how many of you heard that, but will Oberoi be a good option for me if I am interested in becoming an actress and a writer? And yes.
I think it really would. I think we've got students who are driving the agenda with this. We've got a new fictional writing club that's been set up by 2 students, one who already has a number, I think it's 2 novels that he's had published, and that we have copies of in the library, and they're available to buy online. We have a really, really strong team of English teachers who have got a number of different activities that they run for people who are keen on writing. And certainly with the acting, if you're interested in pursuing the acting through the theatre course, and as well as the opportunities in performance in the extracurricular activities, I think it'd be a great fit.
And the clubs, are they usually after school or are they during weekends?
Clubs are all over the place. Clubs, some are at lunchtime, some are after school, some are on weekends. So you basically, you need to know when clubs and things are happening, just so you can't sign up for 2 things that are available at the same time. So all of that sort of the nitty gritty you would know about at the beginning of the year as we kickstart things.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, I just want to know if kids getting their 10th grade exams, say their results by January, is there a scholarship that you're offering for 11th grade?
There is something about that.
Yeah.
So,
Do you want this?
Hi. So there is a particular cutoff, and if students score more than that, we do offer scholarships.
So I would like to ask you about the math program. So I'm still a bit confused about the difference between both of the math programs and how it would enable me differently, both of the math programs.
you and the rest of the world are still confused about those maths programs. I think you need to just sit back and relax. By the time the doors are open at the beginning of next year, there'll be absolute clarity. But certainly, a lot depends on what you're interested in. If you're heading towards the engineering side of things, there's one maths that's probably better for you. There's one which is more applied, and if you work business, etc. So it will become clear. There's a lot of information on the website, but there's not in existence a curriculum yet, or a study or a subject guide. But there is a lot of information about it. So if you look on ibo.org, you will see it.
Thank you.
Lady here.
What all sports teams do you have?
We have sports teams, we have soccer, we have volleyball, netball, basketball. He's
track and
lying
field,
now.
Badminton, table tennis,
swimming.
squash. If there's not a team that if we don't offer a team that you have an interest in that sport, talk to us.
Then there's a track team as well. That's
Yeah,
not
track and field, cricket. Oh yeah, forgot that.
Gentleman up there. Yes.
That's me. Okay. Typically, Indians really like numbers, and we like to get down to the basic things. So I want to understand what are our chances to get in here? How many seats do you offer? Typically, what have you seen students from outside? How many do you typically take? What number of students actually from your own 10th grade move to the 11th? That sort of things. Just gives us a feel of the likelihood or the chances of
The 10th grade students who don't continue to grade 11 typically are kids who are leaving Mumbai. We get very few that go from this school to another school in Mumbai. Last year I think we had about 3 who made the conscious decision to move from an IB program to an A-level program because it suited their agenda better. But the chances depend on the number of options, the number of vacancies that we have. You can but try.
So was it 3 last year then?
No,
Or
we're
if
looking
it's,
at
No.
looking at about if all of our grade 10s stay, there is space for 2025.
Yeah, something like
if, usually about 15 leave, so add that, that gives you an indication. But we don't know yet. I can't remember the date when our current grade 10s need to let us know whether they are staying or going so that we can open another place. No, we are aiming for about 120 students. We have, so there'll be 20 to 30 seats.
IB is running here in this campus, the JVLR that we have.
The JVLR currently is open to nursery through to grade 8. Next year will be nursery to grade 9 and so on. We're growing it slowly. Purposely, because 80% of our teaching staff are locals and the number of really good, experienced local teachers is in short supply. Yes, we do. Yes, gentleman up there.
On the admission process, we have filled the form online. Do you fill it again? You mentioned the form start now.
Yeah, so typically for the admission process, everybody has to fill up an inquiry form on our website. Then you need to basically pay the admission, the charges for the application form, which is 7,500 rupees. You can pay it by cash, or you can make an online transfer. When you go out, we actually have members, our colleagues who are sitting already outside. So if you're looking at purchasing application form, you can do it. We started right after the session and we sell it till the October 3rd. Once we receive the payment, you'll receive a link of the application form, which you have to fill up completely and submit online. Our entire process is online, so you have to submit online along with the requisite documents. Post which, as Sandy mentioned, the students will be called in for an assessment. The shortlisted candidates will be called in for a face-to-face interaction with a member of the faculty, and finally the selected students will be given an offer, and you'll have to typically reserve your spot if you've received an offer within 1 week of receiving the admission. That's roughly the overall. Yes, please.
Ma'am, I may need to have a word with you because I'm an existing JVLR parent. So every time I put my email ID, it always shows existing.
Sure.
So I think I need
Sure.
to have
So
a word
after the
with
session,
you
we can
after.
definitely talk.
I can't
Yeah.
get through the process.
No
ahead.
problem. No problem.
Thank you.
Lady at the back there.
Hi, I just want to know the assessment that you will take. What's the duration
It's
approximately?
a 1 hour online assessment.
Oh, it's an online thing.
Yes. For which you have to come to the school.
Of course. And what time approximately?
It's for 1 hour.
No, and in the morning or after?
In the morning. Typically in the morning, we are looking at September 29th and October 6th. You'll have slots and you can choose the slot basis the availability of seats.
Okay, so starting like say around 9 o'clock in the morning? I mean,
Yes, all the timing details we will be emailing you.
Okay.
So you'll have slots to choose from.
Okay.
So we have right now zeroed down on September 29th and October 6th, but you can choose one of the dates and the slot, but it's all depends on the availability of spots.
Tony, do you want to add to that?
I just want to mention something a little bit about the assessment,
Sure.
because I can see lots of murmurs and wondering. It's not maths, it's not English, it's an assessment of ability and skills in line with the IB learner profile characteristics. It's not something you can prepare for. It's going to be something that will help us to judge whether you will fit in with what we prioritise in this school, which is not how good you are at maths, how good you are at English. It's all about your characteristics. So don't think that you're going to go away and learn and prepare for that. Just come be yourself and fill in the questions, answer the questions as honestly as you can.
Yes, they can. If they choose ESS, which will double up in group 3 and 4, they could choose both the subjects. We have kids that opt for both as well. Yes, so they have to choose ESS because that is the one subject that taps into groups 3 and 4. But as soon as they do that, they can choose 2 subjects in group 6, not a problem.
There's a lady at the back who's been sitting quietly with her hand raised, like a very good student.
59% of the students were selected in the universities. Hearty congratulations for that. But would like to know what the remaining 31%.
Oh, sorry, no. All the kids went to university, but each of them applied to, say, 10 universities, and they got offers from 7 of those 10 universities that they applied to. But all the kids that wanted to go to university went to university. Does that make sense? Sorry. Otherwise, that doesn't sound like such a good statistic.
Assessment would be shortlisted students, right?
No, the assessment is given to everybody who applies. It's the interaction that is for shortlisted students.
Out of the assessment, the one that we take this.
You have a lot of subjects to offer. Is there a minimum or a maximum number of students per subject which you have as a criteria?
Could you say that again?
We have a lot of subjects. Is there a maximum or minimum?
For each batch to operate, do you have a maximum or a minimum?
Not as in number of students.
For the batch?
No, we create a schedule based on student selections. So if we have 10 people want to do history, we will open one section. If we have 30 people wanting to do history, we will open 2 sections.
But if you have only 3 or 4 students offering taking history, then what do you do?
Look, we're not going to embark on a 2-year program with one person doing a subject. So yes, there are we're a big school, but on rare occasions, if there isn't sufficient uptake, then we won't open a section.
And also the student choice of subjects is done very early in the year, so that because my teacher recruitment program every year is based on questions like how many kids are going to do higher level Spanish this year. So we need to know in advance. There was a lady just in front of you, yes?
My son will be appearing for his IGCSE exams which start in October. So would it be, in case he gets selected, the interview dates can be rescheduled to work around his exam time?
Yes, of course.
Yes.
Yes. Yes? Thank you so much.
Yes.
Yeah, I have a question. Since we are talking about honesty and integrity and a parent and an honest parent, my question would be that while we are applying at this school, we are also applying in different other schools, IB schools. And everyone has a different process. Y'all are going to be sending out offers by the, I would believe, end of October. There are many which would offer, tell us whether our child has managed to get an offer in December, some could be in January. So my question to you is, would you defer your offer? Can we wait for, to get an answer from all the schools we applied in and then make a choice, or we have to make the choice as soon as the offer comes to us?
The only reason for deferring is if we're your second choice. And we don't want to be your second choice.
I'd be very honest about this. As a student, when they apply to universities, they're applying to 10 different universities. The same way that a parent would also want to apply to at least 3 different schools, IB schools. So that is my question.
The answer is you have 1 week to either say yes or no. And that's fine, no hard feelings.
All right, thank you so much.
But generally, which month your decisions are out that a child is selected? Generally, with this online assessment, you have a child clears the assessment, and then you have a meeting with the faculty member, and then you get back to whether the child is selected or not selected. So generally, during which month you all have a session? Sorry? We are looking at October. October, and then within 1 week you have to submit the PC note, right? Within 1 week of the official offer, by the end of October. Roughly, that's the timeline we are looking at.
Ladies and gentlemen, most of the questions now seem to be about the application process. And the admissions department will be outside over coffee. And I think we're all in danger of... It's a school rule. You have to be happy. Thank you very much for coming, ladies and gentlemen.